How long does it take typically average to flip a property?
The toughest part, before I answer specifically, is finding the property. Everything else is like art meets science. It's really kind of a simple process. Initially, for what were we gonna say?
No, I said, yeah, you're right.
Initially, especially for anyone in real estate, if you want to like buy a house, flip it, it's gonna seem at first a little bit like, oh, this is cake, and then you'll get in the mire and you'll realize, whoa, I'm way in over my head.
Yeah.
If you can accomplish the first part of finding an off-market home that hasn't been listed and figure out the right formula, and we've figured out what works best for us, and all flippers have their like specific way of doing things, like specific areas, how much it's worth, how much the after repair value is going to be, and that's like my sweet spot. Typically, to get your first acquisition, I think opinions vary, but it's going to take you 2, 3, maybe even 4 months. So a lot of people lose hope, and they get tired, they get nervous, and they think, I'm not making any money, so they give up. If you put yourself in a situation where you're working with people you can trust and know the industry, and they can build you up as you're learning and doing, obviously that's ideal. So for everyone in this network, talk to people, reach out, pick up that phone. Don't be shy. If you're shy, be shy and make your mistakes, cut your teeth, you'll figure it out. Yeah. But typically it takes about 3 to 4 months to get your first acquisition before you figure out what marketing is good for you. And then from there, typically if it's your normal fix and flip, it's going to be about 2 to 4 months. There's going to be lots of things that are just variables you couldn't control. Contractor couldn't make it. Materials weren't available because of supply shortages. Bank on 3 to 4 months, and then you've got to focus on the math. The math is key because every little detail costs money, and every penny you spend takes away from your profit and your partner's profits. So the short answer to your question is 4 to 6 months, pretty reasonable. Just be ready to learn a whole lot before and during.
Of course, yeah. Like you said, it's always different. So if it's an ideal house, everything goes perfectly, 4 months. If anything, once you know what you're doing, like you guys, maybe 6 months. And then if you're new, would you say a project would take 8 to 12, looking back?
So
that would be way too long, I think.
Yeah, I'll give you examples of like what I've done on the fix and flip stuff. The fastest flip we've done was, I think, like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the time frame of doing a flip, it depends on what you're doing to the house, right? You could do the lipstick on a pig, where just floor, paint, this, that, put it back on the market. You could do something called a wholesale, where you just buy something and just put it as is. Those don't take time. Actually, my biggest deal, the most money I've ever made, was on a deal I bought off market. I sold it. We made over $300,000 on one deal. Yeah. So the longest flip I've done, it wasn't a flip, it was more of like ground up, where we bought the house, we demoed pretty much all of it, and we did it from scratch. That took 12 months to finish. And then like to sell, it depends on your buyer. Like if you, okay, I'll give you another example. We just did a deal in the city of Corona. The fixing part took a month, but the buyer was an FHA buyer, and FHA rule says you cannot sell that property within 90 days. So there's certain rules.
Yeah.
So even though we were done, but the 90-day flip rule took longer. So we ended up, from start to finish, ended up being like 4 months. And that was that example. But if I was to say average, okay, I'll tell you this. If you're a fix and flipper, if you're not fixing and flipping houses within 2 to 3 months, you might want to rearrange your business plan. If it's taking 5, 6 months, those are tough because you're not making money for 5, 6 months. Yeah. All you're doing, and currently we have like 14 projects going on. If things took like 5, 6 months, that could be very stressful, like on payments, and every month you're making payments on these mortgages,
Yeah.
Currently, I think we're like close to 40,000 a month just in mortgage payments that we're paying.
Yeah, and count that for 6 months.
Yeah.
You could be investing in a larger project.
So exactly. So if you're ever want to get into flips, I would say they say you make your money on the buy, right? If you buy correctly, you'll make money, and that goes kind of everything. If you could save money on like contractor, supplies, this, that, they're just saying money saved is money earned, right? If you could save money, it's better for everyone and everyone wins.
Yeah.
You just asked us one simple question: how long does it take to do a flip? And we gave you all this mire. The key takeaway from everything we just shared is you make your money on the purchase.
Yeah.
Focus there, and everything else will fall into line.
Yeah, so that, to me, that kind of highlights the off-market listings for sure. So if the money is only in the purchase, the better deal that you get off of it, which typically would be an off-market listing, then the better it is for you. So that would be number one criteria when trying to flip a home.
Yeah, so when we go sit down with people that we've canvassed through our marketing, our number one goal is, as I mentioned, figure out what their needs are. What's the solution to their needs? Once we're able to find that solution, we just literally talk to them. We show them what the value can be after repair value. It's called ARV. And if they're willing to spend that money, they could get that kind of money. But a lot of times they don't have money to put into their house. Mm-hmm. So we kind of work the numbers backwards, and then we put in our profit margin, what we're trying to make per deal, and we present it to them. If it's something they're entertaining, they'll take it. And if it's not, we just tell them, hey, look, this might not be an option for you. We also own a real estate company. We might be able to just sell your house on the market.
And I think that's the biggest difficulty for anyone breaking into flipping. Like, consistently we see this. They'll come to Gary, myself, Sergio, and say, you guys, you're never going to believe it. I found a house that I know is worth $900,000 and we can get it for $800,000. They think it's just amazing, $100,000 less, not calculating all the costs that are going to be involved, all the time that you're holding it. So when you kind of burst their bubble at first, the first 2, 3, 4, 5 times, they're like, I don't get it. Why are these guys saying this? And then after they do a flip and they realize what went into it and how much time and money it took, they're like, okay.
Yeah, definitely a lot more complicated than it looks, especially when you don't really do your research. You just kind of think about it in your head. If I were to buy a property, what would go into it?
I can make it so nice.
Yeah,
I can make
and
it
then
for a huge
with
profit.
just with everything, supply, demand, whatever, numbers changing, I think your forecasts could also always be changing. So do you guys forecast for the months ahead, or do you kind of have to rely on what things cost now?
Yes, we forecast. You have to, and you have to be as accurate as possible. But all you have to go on is what we have now.
Yeah.
So real estate, unfortunately for all of us, there's a lot of speculation involved.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big takeaways that you guys learned from the Palm Springs property that you mentioned that was purchased during COVID, the risk was huge because nobody knew what was going to happen with COVID, and no one knew how long it was going to keep going. So sometimes you got to put yourself out there and take a risk, but make it as calculated as possible.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe and share this video for good luck. Actually, share this video to 2,022 people, and you'll have sold more homes by the end of the year than you could have dreamed of. Or break the chain and don't make any sales. Totally up to you.